Welcome to Archetype, the podcast that explores ideas that shape the human experience. I'm your host, Alex Redondo, a principal strategist and advisor within the UX field, discussing and revealing insights that drive meaningful change. On this journey, we'll uncover science-backed insights and best practices that will help you understand the psychology behind building better product experiences. From understanding cognitive biases and nudging theory to storytelling and ethical principles, we'll be exploring the key understandings that can help you create products that prioritize human interactions and behaviors. In particular, we'll dive into 5 key understandings that should form the fundamental practices for building highly impactful UX product psychology. The first thing that we'll discuss is psychology principles, to gain an understanding of the basic principles such as understanding what are cognitive biases, heuristics, and behavioral principles, along with mentioning some of the most effective principles during our exploration and how they can be applied. Think of these as the variable elements that help us understand how people think, feel, and behave, and provide insights into how we can design products that better resonate with users and helps us to establish a more human approach for our interactions. Now, the second topic we'll be exploring is choice architecture from nudge theory, which involves using subtle nudges to influence user behavior. Now, these nudges can be used as a powerful way to influence and guide users towards making decisions that align with their best interests, which is extremely important. The third thing we'll be discussing and introducing here is Fogg's behavior model, which provides great clarity in understanding what exactly is needed to trigger a behavior and how to create opportunities for users to take action. Now, by understanding this simple yet effective model, you will be better positioned to create product experiences that motivate users, make it easier for them to take action, and provide a clear trigger for them to do so. The fourth topic of discussion will be storytelling, a powerful tool for building emotional connections with users and creating memorable experiences, helping you set the stage within the user's mind and even guiding and mitigating cognitive biases and fallacies along the way. And the fifth and final topic of discussion for this podcast will be ethical principles when applying these practices for building UX product psychology. This includes ensuring that the product experience is fair, transparent, and respects the user's privacy and autonomy. Because without proper guidance, when applying these understandings, you're endangering all of your efforts, your credibility in the field, and most importantly, the trust of people you're building for. Now, it's important to take a moment and acknowledge that by no means will I be covering every single step or aspect within the greater bulk of building and designing a product's experience. My goal here is to provide you with the most practical and valuable insights that will help you gain a comprehensive understanding of key principles and best practices that are rooted in scientific research and approach. So by the end of this episode, you will have a deeper knowledge of the most impactful strategies for building a stronger UX product psychology and delivering naturally persuasive and intentional product experiences. So if you're interested in elevating your product's experience, you'll definitely want to tune into this episode. Now, as a product lead designer or marketer, understanding fundamental principles from psychology and behavior is crucial for developing effective and impactful products. So let's go over some of the key terms and principles in psychology and behavior that you need to know. First off is cognitive biases. Now, cognitive biases are automatic thought processes that can influence decision-making. Some of the most impactful cognitive biases include confirmation bias, anchoring bias, and availability bias. You can use these biases to design products that align with your users' pre-existing beliefs, highlight premium features, and make your product more memorable. So let's go ahead and dive into each one of these to better explain. The first one's confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is the tendency for people to seek out information that confirms their pre-existing beliefs, and they actually ignore information that contradicts it. So they are typically drawn toward things that side with their established values and belief systems. The second one is anchoring bias. Anchoring bias is the fact that we rely heavily on the first piece of information we receive when making decisions. So seeing a price tag of $100 first and then being offered $75 for the same product makes the second option more reasonable and therefore more attractive. While if we were to only be presented with the $75 price tag by itself as the first thing, we wouldn't probably feel that way. That's anchoring bias. And the third one is availability bias. Now, availability bias is that people tend to overestimate the likelihood of events that are more easily remembered. And what that means is that we will typically have a preference for what we can remember over the things we simply don't. Because we believe if we can recall it, they must have done something special, or they must have given us some type of reason for us to be able to recall. And therefore, we attribute higher value to it. For example, there are new products and brands being created every single day. But which ones do you remember? That's why making sure that you set your product or experience apart from others using a catchy branding or advertising approach that really captures the imagination of your audience will definitely reward you in the long term by making your product more memorable. Now let's move over into heuristics within psychology principles. Heuristics, on the other hand, are mental shortcuts that people use to make decisions quickly and efficiently. We as humans typically make assumptions and take action on observations from our immediate environment. The top 3 heuristics that can be used in product design include social proof, scarcity, and authority bias. You can use these particular heuristics to influence decision-making by highlighting positive reviews, emphasizing limited availability, or partnering with experts or influencers. Now, to better illustrate, let's go ahead and jump into each one of these so we can get a better understanding. We start with social proof. Social proof is the tendency of people to rely on the actions and opinions of others when making decisions. That's why it's highly advised to highlight positive reviews, testimonials, and social media endorsements, because people will use that to understand whether they will buy, use, or engage with your product. The second one on here is scarcity heuristic. And scarcity heuristic is the fact that we assign more value to things that are scarce or in limited supply. This type of heuristic creates a sense of urgency or exclusivity around an offer. It encourages quick purchasing decision because there's a high chance of missing out. Think of diamonds or items that are limited editions. And the third one on here is authority bias. And authority bias describes our tendency to trust and follow the opinions of experts and authority figures. Now, you can use this understanding by partnering with influencers, experts, or even celebrities to endorse your product, which would in turn increase the trust of your product in the minds of individuals that also trust those influencers, experts, and celebrities. Now, moving on to behavioral principles. Behavioral principles are patterns of behavior that can be influenced through external cues. Some of the most impactful behavioral principles include default bias, loss aversion, and feedback loops. You can use these particular principles to encourage desired behavior and reinforce positive actions. Now, let's go ahead and dive into these 3 to get a better understanding of them. The first one is default bias. Default bias is that people tend to stick with the default option presented to them. You can use this principle by setting default options in the product design that favors the desired behavior or action. For example, if you highlight the most popular choice or the recommended one, it's more likely what people will actually choose, because we want to choose what's safe, we want to choose what's been done, and we want to make sure that we're not going to be making a mistake. Now, the second one on here is loss aversion. And now, loss aversion is when individuals tend to fear losses more than they value gains. Now, the scarcity heuristic that we just talked about is born from this, but this particular principle is about creating a deeper sense of urgency and scarcity by emphasizing the potential losses if the product is not purchased. Now, think about it like this. You won't typically act on an offer that is presenting the $100 sign-on bonus for switching over to a particular product, but you'll probably act once I show you that you're losing $100 every single year with your current product. And the third one on here is feedback loops. Now, feedback loops is the fact that we respond very well to feedback and reinforcement. It's something that gamification plays upon, but this is specifically where users receive information about their performance and use that particular information to improve. A great example would be an exercise app that tells you your activity for today and compares it to yesterday's and encourages you to hit your goal for today. Another great example is if your electric bill included how much you consumed in electricity compared to last month and how much you could have saved. Now, products that provide positive feedback for certain behaviors or actions will tend to see a spike in improvement on achieving those behaviors. And the reason for that is we are programmed to always look for improvements within ourselves, whether you like it or not. Now, although I just reviewed some highly effective principles, there are many more, such as the endowment effect, which is the tendency people have to overvalue things they already own. Another is framing effect, which states that we are highly influenced by the way information is presented to us. That's why it's important to craft your message, brand, or offering in a positive light. Another one is reciprocation, which is the tendency for people to feel obligated to repay others when they receive a gift or favor, which is another reason why we should do more for our audience or customers if we want to establish a healthy relationship with them. Now, the list goes on, and it's one of my favorite topics to discuss. So if you find this particular topic of interest and you want to know all about these types of principles and how to use them, then I'll leave a link down below to sign up for my Human Insights releases, which I send out every week, providing actionable insights on principles and best practices you can use in your projects and initiatives. Now that we've gone through a good bulk of psychology principles and have a better understanding of cognitive biases, heuristics, and behavioral principles that we can start to bring in and formulate our UX product psychology, the question remains, how can we take this further and actually influence user behavior in positive ways to accomplish desired outcomes or desired behavior? This is where the concept of nudging comes into play. So let's go ahead and explore how nudging, which is rooted in behavioral economics, can be used to guide users towards making desired choices and actions. Now, nudge theory was introduced by Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein in their 2008 book, Nudge: Improving Decisions About Health, Wealth, and Happiness. A central concept in nudge theory is choice architecture, which is a framework for understanding how to influence and guide people's behavior without restricting their freedom of choice, which is extremely important. Now, choice architecture refers to the way in which choices are presented to people and how the presentation can influence the choices people make. By subtly altering the choice architecture, it is possible to guide people towards making better choices without forcing them to do so. Now, since the introduction of this particular theory, it has continued to evolve as behavioral scientists and other professionals within the field look for different and, I'll say it, better ways to apply it to varying situations. But overall, it still maintains the core belief of nudging through choice architecture. Now, to keep things simple and building off our newfound understanding of behavioral principles we just reviewed, here we're identifying 10 of the most common behavioral principles and aspects that represent the levers used in choice architecture to nudge people in the right direction. Okay? So, these include the use of defaults. We just heard of that. So, we were talking about default bias. Now, defaults are used by automatically setting a default option which users will typically choose over an alternative. The second one is feedback. We just heard feedback loops. Now, feedback refers to the information that people receive about the consequences of their actions to help them be better aware and informed of their actions or lack of. This awareness formulates a mental position for the individual to take action from. Here's a perfect example. If you don't know that you pay more than your neighbor in electricity, you probably won't think of actively lowering your consumption. Out of sight, out of mind. Think about it like that. So the more feedback, the more information we are exposed to, the better decisions we will make. The third is incentives. Now, this refers to the use of rewards or penalties that people receive for certain behaviors. because identifying and providing the proper incentives drives action. Just think about parking citations or discounts offered for frequent shoppers. Fourth is framing. Framing is used by crafting the way information and options are presented to people. This has a direct impact on how it's perceived and ultimately acted upon. Here's a perfect example. I can simply tell you that open campfires aren't allowed at a campsite, or I can describe how last year a reckless group of campers caused a devastating fire that injured and threatened the lives of 3 small bear cubs and their parents by not observing and respecting that a no open campfire warning was in high effect, as it is today. The second one is going to be better received and better acted upon than the first. That's what framing is all about. Number 5 is social norms. Now, social norms plays off the understanding that people are strongly influenced by the behavior of others in their social group. So, for example, showing you that all your friends at school or your colleagues at work decided a certain way on a particular flavor of ice cream, you'll probably choose to follow in their decision. It's a pattern that we want to stay in line with the rest of the group. Now, number 6 is salience. People are more likely to pay attention to things that are prominent or attention-grabbing. That's why ads that stand out do better. To the same degree, if you offer 3 choices and one of them is stronger in presence, that's the one that people will tend to gravitate toward. Because we are programmed to seek out anything that is different and outside of the boundaries of normality. Number 7 is another favorite of mine, priming. Now, priming is used by understanding that people are often influenced by subtle cues that trigger certain thoughts or emotions. For example, hearing the sound of a sizzling grill can prime a person's appetite. Seeing a picture of a smile can prime a person's mood to be more positive. Or even reading a story about aging can prime a person's walking speed to be slower. We are highly influenced. Number 8 is personalization. Now, personalization refers to tailoring the options presented to people based on their individual preferences and characteristics. Now, here's the thing. Offering tailored recommendation based on personalized approach offers less friction on that particular action or choice because it reflects their identity. And we don't typically go against the things that form our identity. Number 9 is simplification. This is an easy one. This is used by presenting choices in a way that is easy to understand and navigate. Think about it as offering the path of least resistance. If you create hurdles and objects regarding certain other choices, yet provide easy access to one in particular, people will tend to exercise that one option over the rest. We want what's convenient, we want what's easy, we want what's going to save us time to get things done. And number 10 for choice architecture is timing. The timing of when choices are presented can influence people's decisions. Too early might mean they are less informed and not ready, while too late and they might be past the point of action. If you offered a repurchasing of your product just in time as they are running out, they'll probably reorder from you. Think about it like that. Now, bringing in and accounting for these typical components of choice architecture used in nudge theory to design products, services, and environments can influence people's behavior in a positive way without restricting their freedom of choice. Nudge theory can be applied in a wide range of contexts, including health, finance, and sustainability. Let me give you some examples there. In healthcare, nudges can be used to encourage people to take their medication regularly, attend checkups, and adopt healthier lifestyles. In finance, nudges can be used to encourage people to save money and spend wisely, while in sustainability, nudges can be used to encourage people to make smarter choices and be less wasteful. One of the most famous examples of nudge theory in action is in the fly painted in the urinals at the Amsterdam airport. By providing a target, it was found that men reduce spillage by 80%, reducing cleaning costs and improving hygiene overall. Another great example is the use of gamification to encourage people to conserve energy, with competitions and rewards for the most energy-efficient household. Now, for those of you that are interested to learn more about nudge theory, I'll put a link below for the book and any other relevant references for you to check out. Now, to wrap this section up, nudge theory suggests that by using choice architecture to nudge people in the right direction, it is possible to improve decision-making and encourage behavior change. However, understanding these techniques is just the first step in creating effective products and services that encourage a desired behavior. This is where Fogg's behavior model comes in. Developed by behavior scientist B.J. Fogg, the model provides a framework for understanding what motivates people to take action and how to design products and services that make it easier for people to do so. By combining the principles of choice architecture with the insights provided by Fogg's behavior model, you can create more effective products and services that truly drive user behavior in a positive direction by knowing the fundamentals of what's actually required to trigger behavior. So let's go ahead and dive into Fogg's behavioral model and explore how it can be used to create opportunities within your products that drive user engagement and encourage positive behavior. Now, to create opportunities, you need to understand what drives behavior in the first place. People are more likely to engage in a behavior when the behavior is easy to perform, when they have the motivation to perform the behavior, and when there is a trigger or prompt to remind them to perform the behavior. As such, Fogg's model suggests that for behavior to be triggered, 3 factors must converge at the same time, which is motivation, ability, and a trigger or a prompt. Motivation refers to the user's level of interest, desire, and willingness to perform a behavior. Ability refers to the user's capability to perform the behavior, while prompt refers to a cue or trigger that initiates the behavior. Let's go ahead and repeat that. Motivation refers to the user's level of interest, desire, and willingness to perform the behavior. Ability refers to the user's capability to perform the behavior, while prompt refers to a cue that initiates the behavior. Now, to use the Fogg behavior model effectively, it's important to understand and break down the drivers of each component in its most simplistic form. So here I've laid out key insights for you to quickly pick it up. Now, you might want to go ahead and take some notes, right? Because this is some really good stuff here. You're probably already taking notes. If you are, awesome on you. So here we go. We start with motivation. Now, the user's level of motivation is key to achieving a behavior. Here are the 3 core motivational drivers. The first one is sensation. Now, sensation refers to the desire for pleasure or avoidance of pain related to the behavior. The second one is anticipation. Anticipation refers to the hope or fear a person has about the future outcome of the behavior. And the third one is belief. And belief refers to the degree to which a person thinks the behavior will help them achieve their goals or align with their values. This may include how they will be seen by others, right? Now, when motivation is high, people are more likely to perform a behavior. So to increase motivation, it's important to understand which of these drivers resonates with the user and tailor the message or experience accordingly. Again, sensation, anticipation, belief. Now on to the second component, which is ability. The user's level of ability to perform the behavior is also important. Ability is influenced by 6 factors now, not by 3, but by 6. The first one is time, the amount of time available to perform the behavior. Number 2 is money, the amount of money or other resources required to perform the behavior. Number 3 is physical effort, the physical effort required to perform the behavior. Number 4 is brain cycles or cognitive load, the amount of mental effort required to perform the behavior. Number 5 is social deviance, which is the extent to which the behavior is perceived as socially acceptable or deviant. And number 6 is non-routine, the degree to which the behavior is habitual or unfamiliar. Now, when ability is high, people are more likely to perform a behavior, just like when motivation is high. Now, to increase ability, it's important to identify any barriers or friction that may make it difficult for the user to perform the behavior and address them. Simplifying the behavior is also important to increase the user's ability. Because think about it like this: time, money, physical effort, brain cycles, social deviance, and non-routine, all or the majority of them have to do with how easy is this to achieve. So do I have the resources to achieve this? Do I have the time to achieve this? How much of my physical effort do I need to involve to achieve it? The less friction, the better ability I may have in order to perform the action. And the third component in Fogg's model is prompt. Now, the prompt refers to the cues or triggers that initiates or reminds the user to perform a behavior. Prompts can come from three sources. A, the environment, where cues in the physical or social environment are present to trigger the behavior. B, the user. These are self-generated prompts such as reminders and mental triggers. And C, the design. These are prompts that are intentionally designed into the product or service. Now, when prompts are well-timed and well-designed, people are more likely to perform the desired behavior. Now, to effectively prompt behavior, it's important to use the appropriate type of prompt for the user's level of motivation and ability. Now, timing is also key, as the prompt should be presented at a moment when the user is both motivated and able to perform the behavior. Now, if you found Fogg's model fascinating, please be sure to check out below, where I'll include a link to his work and any other relevant information or references to help you out. Now, by breaking down the process as we just did, we can now design key moments using motivation, ability, and prompt that trigger behavior to make it easier for users to take action. However, while Fogg's model provides an excellent framework for understanding how to motivate and encourage users to take action, it isn't complete without the truly transformative power of storytelling. The power of storytelling lies in its ability to create an emotional connection with users and shape their perception of the product experience. By incorporating a narrative into the product design, you can create a memorable experience that captures the user's imagination and guides their behavior. Storytelling can also help mitigate cognitive biases and fallacies, allowing you to better align the user's perception with your desired outcomes. By using storytelling, you can help users understand the purpose and value of the product in a way that engages them on a deeper level and motivates them to take action. There's no question that storytelling is a powerful tool for enhancing the UX product psychology. It involves conveying information, ideas, and emotions through a narrative that engages the audience and establishes the elements that shape the user experience. Storytelling can be used in a variety of ways to improve the product experience, including building a connection with the user, creating memorable experiences, and communicating brand values and purpose. Now, to maximize the impact of storytelling for your UX product psychology, designers and professionals alike can look into and consider using one of the following 6 storytelling approaches. These are the hero's journey, emotional contagion, cognitive fluency, personification, visual storytelling, and interactive storytelling. The most powerful and intriguing part of all this is that these particular approaches can be combined with the psychology principles we reviewed to create stories that are more engaging and persuasive. So there's a lot that storytelling can offer us. Now, to create an engaging story for a product experience, you can follow these steps within the actionable framework I use. Number 1 is understand the target audience. You have to start by understanding their needs, goals, and pain points. This helps to create a story that resonates with the user and seeks to meet their needs. Number 2, define the problem. Understand the problem. Identify the challenges faced by the user and the unmet needs that the product is ready to solve. This helps to create a story that addresses the user's pain points and then combining that with how to resolve it with your product. Number 3 is develop the narrative. Use the gathered information to create a relatable and engaging story about the user and their experience. Make sure to highlight the benefits of the product and how it solves the user's problem or problems. Number 4, use sensory language. Very important. Use language that engages the senses, such as sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell, to create a more immersive experience for the story. Number 5, and probably most important, make it relatable. Use examples and scenarios that are relatable to the target audience to increase the effectiveness of the story, because we connect with things and people that we can relate to in one way or another. If you can have us relate to it, you already have us. Number 6, show, don't tell. Use visual aids such as images, videos, or animations to show the story and bring it to life. It also grounds the experience better and makes it more memorable. Number 7, use some humor. It's always nice to use humor. I like laughing. Everybody likes laughing. Humor can be a great way to engage users and make the story more memorable, as long as it's appropriate for the target audience and the story you're telling. Number 8, make it interactive. Encourage the user to interact with the story by using techniques such as choose your own adventure stories or quizzes or other interactive elements. But if you can get the individual to be involved in the story making process, it's always going to connect better. And number 9, test the story. Don't think it's just going to work because you're putting it together and it sounds fantastic. Test the story. Before launching the story, test it with a representative group of the target audience to ensure that it resonates with them and effectively conveys the desired message. And also see if it evokes the correct behavior. Now, by following this particular framework, you can create stories that are more engaging, memorable, and impactful, helping to increase engagement and drive behavior change with your product. Isn't that awesome? Now, we really have to talk about the ethical principles, because as professionals designing these powerful understandings into our product, it is crucial for us to align with ethical principles to help drive ethical experiences for our users. This means considering the potential impact a product may have and designing with empathy and compassion in mind. See, designing human experiences and interactions is a complex process that involves factors that influence human behavior, and typically with a desired outcome. As professionals designing these powerful understandings into our products, it's crucial for us to align with ethical principles when building experiences so that the experience benefits our users. Here, I'm going to share some key ethical principles to keep in mind, which I do myself when designing these types of understandings into your product's experience. Number 1 is respect for users' autonomy. This principle requires that users be able to make their own decisions about how they interact with the product, and that their autonomy not be compromised by manipulative or deceptive design practices. So no dark patterns should be tolerated at all. This is highly important because when users feel that they have greater autonomy, they are more likely to experience a sense of control, which can increase their certainty and reduce their stress. Providing users with the freedom to make their own choices and the ability to control their environment empowers them. What this means is that designing for greater autonomy will involve providing users with the ability to escape user flows, speed up interactions, split up tasks and attention, and reduce complexity. That's number 1. Number 2 is privacy. This principle requires that designers respect the privacy of users and protect their personal information from unauthorized access or use. A no-brainer. Number 3 is fairness. This principle requires that designers create products that are fair and equitable, and that do not discriminate against any particular group of users across the board. Number 4 is transparency. This principle requires that professionals be more transparent about the way their products collect and use user data, and that they provide users with meaningful control over their own information. Number 5 is responsibility. This principle requires that product leads and companies take full responsibility for the impacts their products have on users and society, and that they design products in a way that promotes the public good. Number 6 is accessibility. This principle requires that professionals create products that are accessible to all users, regardless of their abilities or disabilities. Number 7, which is extremely important, is trust. This principle requires that professionals building the experience and the product build trust with their users by being transparent and honest about their intentions, and by creating products that are secure and reliable. There are 2 other things that you should also take into consideration. One is informed consent. We're moving towards it because obtaining informed consent from users is crucial when using a higher sophistication when applying psychological factors to influence behavior. This means ensuring users are aware of the potential effects and giving them the option to make an informed decision. It's as easy as stating what practices go into building your product and why you're doing it. And the second one is do no harm. You have to avoid designs that have the potential to cause harm, whether physical or psychological. For instance, when designing a mental health app that actually uses gamification, be mindful of the potential for overuse and addiction that can result from actually using gamification, especially since it has a greater chance of being highly detrimental in the context of a mental health app. Now, by adhering to these ethical principles, when applying powerful understandings and shaping your UX product psychology, you'll be better positioned to provide experiences that strive to create transparency, are respectful, and empathetic in nature that protects the autonomy of users. In conclusion, the science of UX product psychology is a crucial aspect of creating better and more impactful product experiences. By understanding the basic principles of psychology, utilizing nudges from nudge theory, leveraging Fogg's behavior model, incorporating the power of storytelling, and adhering to ethical principles, you can design products that prioritize human interactions and behavior, resulting in more engaging and persuasive experiences for your users. Thank you for joining me on this journey. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Archetype podcast for more episodes exploring ideas that shape the human experience. And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.